TakeOver Dallas is in 6 days, WrestleMania is in 8 days, and I won't be doing any reviews next week, as I've mentioned earlier. But the most important question out of all of them is, what did you guys ask the Phoenix? What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz, Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, here with the March edition of Ask the Phoenix, or should I say, the pre-WrestleMania edition of Ask the Phoenix. First thing I gotta say is thank you to all the regulars that tossed their questions down in the box below, along with a couple of new faces. I will say thank you to all those who send me 100 questions or so for listening when I said last month that we're limiting it to 10 questions per person. Also, thank you to all of you in general for participating in this, because this is the one series on this channel that doesn't really exist without you guys. And I know that sounds like a very cliche thing for me to say or anybody else on YouTube to say, but I really do mean it, and I really do genuinely say without you guys, this series wouldn't exist. There would be no cues for me to A. Also, in the thank you realm, you guys have probably seen in the past week or so, I have been obnoxiously hashtagging the hashtag 600 by WrestleMania, because I am so painfully, ridiculously close to 600 subs. It is making my brain ache. Thank you to all of you, those of you who have stuck with me for the past, it's got to be 6 years now. Got to throw it out there. A little bit of a plug for myself. If you're watching this for the first time, please don't hesitate to subscribe or pass it on to friends, Facebook members, Twitter members, whatever, who you think may enjoy this content. I would really love to be able to say at the end of next week that we did in fact reach hashtag 600 by WrestleMania. But that being said, you guys are great. You guys know that you're great, and I'm going to get into your questions. Speaking of great and speaking of regulars, the Angry Mark says, thoughts on the AJ Styles WWE run so far? I think it's really good. I think they've done the perfect balance of acknowledging his past, acknowledging that he is a huge name outside the WWE, and at the same time resisted the urge to, okay, he's a big name, we better do something with him quick. Like, they haven't thrown the title on him right away. They haven't given him a pay-per-view main event right away. They've given him Jericho to work with, which is fucking great. It's really good. I'm curious to see what they're going to do in the future. I'm curious to see how he interacts with people that we've already seen him fight. I know that sounds like a funny thing to say, because you want to see new fights, new feuds, new combinations of people. I agree wholeheartedly. I want to see him go up against somebody like Neville or a Cesaro or somebody like that. But I want to see what Styles versus Joe looks like under the WWE banner. I want to see what Styles versus Aries looks like under the WWE banner. And so there's two different levels of curiosity. I know a lot of people are mad, sort of saying, why don't they do more with this guy? Don't they know what a big name he is? I agree to an extent, and I agree with WWE to an extent, because you can't, no matter what, no matter whether they came from ROH, TNA, and IWGP, New Japan, NXT, once they hit the WWE roster, they are on day one. I've said this for as long as I've had this channel. No matter what you've done, and it sounds snobby, no matter what you've done before WWE, on your WWE day one, it is day one. So the fact that they haven't hotshotted him to the moon is okay. It gives us something to look forward to. It gives us a growing story, etc. So I think they've done great. I think giving him Jericho to start off with was a pretty big boost right out of the gate. Having him debut at the Royal Rumble was fantastic. The fact that he immediately had a program by the time the next pay-per-view came around, and by the fact that we're going to see that program transpire into WrestleMania a mere 3 months later, they've got him off to a good start. It's really good, and I'm really happy to see Styles in WWE. I wish I could say the same for Rude and Storm again, and Young and EC3 and a couple of other people that I would love to see come over, but that's another story for another day. Jay Lethal, another one off the top of my head. What do you think they should do with AJ Styles after his feud with Jericho? I think he should be the one to do an open challenge. Now, I know an open challenge is usually something that they use for established talent to say, like the most recent example and the most obvious example is John Cena. He did the US Open Challenge. That's obviously a 15 or so year established guy trying to put over new guys. Now, I think the same could happen in reverse. AJ Styles could come in, finish his feud with Jericho, obviously win, be like, I defeated Chris Jericho, but there was a couple of things that he said right. I've done things elsewhere. I've done things outside of the WWE, but in the WWE, I know I need to prove myself. So anybody here in WWE that objects to me being here, step up to the plate, answer my open challenge. He could be answered from guys like Bubba Ray. He could be answered by guys like Mark Henry. All the big, scary WWE cliche guys. You could see next year, AJ Styles puts the challenge out there. He gets answered by The Undertaker. Something ridiculous like that. The WWE guy. Can you imagine something as simple as an open challenge resulting in AJ Styles versus The Undertaker by the time we get to WrestleMania 33. I think he needs to broaden his field. I don't think he needs to lock himself into another feud right away, if that makes sense. Thoughts on the WWE possibly doing a brand split? Don't do it. Don't do it. Because any brand split you create superficially will not be as good as the natural brand split that people already have in their heads between WWE and NXT. You want competition? Compete WWE against NXT. Don't split up Raw, SmackDown, Vince has Raw, Shane has SmackDown, some bullshit like that. Just don't do it. What match would you like to see the main event at WrestleMania 32? Now, again, there's a couple balls in the air there. Two things that will stick out as a WrestleMania main event would be the title or The Undertaker. The title should... The way WWE builds himself, the WWE title should be the most important match on the card. Now, while I'm looking forward to Triple H versus... I'm not a Roman Reigns dick sucker. I'm not a Triple H dick sucker per se, but I think the guy deserves a lot more respect than he gets. I understand that most of the people out there are not excited about Triple H Roman Reigns, especially when you consider what the result is probably going to be. So I don't want that to be the last thing people see when they leave Dallas at the AT&T Stadium. The other thing is, I would say Undertaker, I would say Hell in the Cell, but it's against Shane McMahon, so you don't want the main event. I know there's a WrestleMania history of it. I don't want the main event of WrestleMania to be a wrestler versus a non-wrestler for all intents and purposes. No disrespect to Shane McMahon. I gotta go with the one that I think is going to be the most fun next Sunday, and that's Brock Lesnar versus Dean Ambrose. Brock Lesnar versus Dean Ambrose. Sorry, excuse me. Even though all the reasoning that I put into a WWE main event speaks directly against it. Who are your top 5 prospects in NXT that you are legit behind? Oh. Aries, Joe, Finn Balor, Emma, Alexa Bliss. Emma's already re-debuting back on the main roster. If the spoilers from Superstars are anything to be indicated, I think she's going to be in that Tag Team Divas match at WrestleMania, but that will have to remain to be seen. Hot heel Emma at WrestleMania will not hurt my feelings at all. Are you excited more for the TakeOver Dallas or WrestleMania 32? Gets into a YWC debate where it's the trendy cup of coffee to say that TakeOver is going to be more than WrestleMania. It's going to be a bigger, better, badder, more influential show than WrestleMania. And let's face it, no matter how good it is and no matter how shit WrestleMania is, TakeOver is not a bigger show than WrestleMania. There is more of a chance. There's only 5 matches on TakeOver, for one thing. There's 10 at WrestleMania. There's like 30 different superstars involved in WrestleMania. So as far as catching everybody's fandom, you cast a wider net with WrestleMania. It's a bigger show. It's a bigger spectacle. It's a longer show, which is, another thing people bitch about. But, NXT is a very good small show. WrestleMania is going to be a spectacular big show. No offense to the big show. You can't compare them. You really, really can't. I'm not saying I'm not looking forward to TakeOver. I really am. I think the fact that it's coming on 10 p.m. my time on a Friday night is a little off-putting. I think the fact that they're trying to shoehorn it into WrestleMania weekend is a bit funny. I think the NXT fans getting butthurt that it wasn't included in the WWE calendar is kind of hypocritical, considering people try to say that NXT isn't WWE. WrestleMania is going to be a bigger show. I'm more excited about WrestleMania. Now, that being said, once again, Joe versus Balor, going to be a great match. Asuka versus Bayley, going to be an awesome match. The Revival versus... who the fuck are they facing? Oh, American Alpha is okay. I don't care about the Revival. I do care about American Alpha. Obviously, they're a fantastic tag team, and the Kurt Angle rumors can't be ignored. Austin Aries versus Baron Corbin is not a match I'm looking forward to, but I'm looking forward to seeing Austin Aries in action. I don't remember what else is on the card, if I'm honest. Oh, we're getting Sami Zayn versus Shinsuke Nakamura, which you guys know I'm always excited to see new people, but I don't know anything about Shinsuke Nakamura, and I want to treat him like a new guy. Debuting somebody at a pay-per-view is kind of like looking forward to a blank slate, and I don't mean that in any kind of bad way. At the same time, it's a big NXT show when Sami Zayn has already come up to the main roster. So some guy just coming in versus some guy that's already out the door, as far as the NXT product goes, isn't the most exciting thing in the world. Will it be a great match? Probably. Fantastic. I've seen clips of Shinsuke Nakamura. I've become a huge fan of Sami Zayn. I'm sure I look at Sami Zayn the way WWE wanted me to look at Daniel Bryan. That's just a fact. But I'm looking more, what am I looking forward to more? That or Dean Ambrose versus Brock Lesnar. It's not a good contest. I'm looking forward to the Dudleys versus the Usos because I care about both teams. Now, as good as American Alpha is, I don't care about the Revival. That's just a fact. I think it's a crime that Enzo and Cass are not on either show. That might be working against them a little bit, but the end of that ramble is there's no contest. I'm looking forward to WrestleMania more. Should WWE just say fuck it and put Dolph Ziggler and Tyler Breeze in a tag team? No. No. You throw Tyler Breeze in that cruiserweight tournament you got coming up soon, and the preliminaries for that are happening on somebody else's show, apparently, whoever the fuck Evolve is. I haven't looked into it because I'm lazy. That's just a fact. I don't want Dolph Ziggler to be involved in any more tag teams. We saw what happened with him and Swagger. We saw what happened with him and Big E. If you were going to put him in a tag team, I would want him to be in a tag team with The Miz, but that's not happening. I would love to see him facing The Miz at WrestleMania, but that's only kind of happening. Don't stick Ziggler in another tag team. If you want to boost up Tyler Breeze, make Tyler Breeze better. Tyler Breeze is a great talent. This is one of the ones where I will bow down and say that WWE has done a shit job of promoting him. Take a look at what he did at NXT, or put him back there if you want to boost him up. Ziggler should be in the title picture. Ziggler, a couple weeks ago on Raw, put on a great match with Triple H. Same thing with Dean Ambrose at Roadblock. Seeing that live was amazing, but you knew Dean Ambrose wasn't going to win. I mean, gotta say, that was in the Roadblock match, that was a near fall heard around the world, and the entire Rico Coliseum, myself included, held our breath for a couple of seconds, not gonna lie. But in a match where I think that there's a legitimate chance that Ziggler could win, I want to see a rematch between Ziggler and Triple H. I kind of want Triple H to win at WrestleMania. That's a thing. No offense to Roman Reigns, but it's kind of a thing. I'm selfish as a wrestling fan. I like seeing Triple H in the ring still. He proved it at Roadblock. He proved it on Raw with Ziggler, and he's going to prove it at WrestleMania. He can still go. The only reason he's in the suit is because he's also got that job. But yeah, getting back to what the initial question was, Tyler Breeze, Ziggler tag team? Absolutely not. What two random wrestlers do you think could actually make a good tag team in the WWE? Now, I'm going to go to my WWE 2K16 for a second, because I'll tell you some of the tag teams I've got on there. I've got Dance Dance Revolution, which is a tag team of R-Truth and Fandango, which is great. I've got Samoa Joe and Kevin Owens as a tag team in my game, and I've got Brock Lesnar and the incredibly underrated Jack Swagger as a tag team, and as a gamer, that is a fun game to play with, because between the two, obviously Suplex City, Brock Lesnar, but you can do the similar types of stuff that you do with Lesnar with Jack Swagger, and you really need to do something in WWE to boost up Jack Swagger if you're going to keep him on your roster. I don't know who else. The other tag team I've got on my game wouldn't work in WWE because Heath Slater's already got a faction, but the other tag team, it's the Tattooed Crew, because I'm so super creative, and that's Heath Slater and Baron Corbin, which is another fun team to play with. Do you think bad booking or indie style influence is to blame for WWE coming off kind of forgetful and dry? Booking and some of the storytelling and some of the decision makings that they do. I don't want to say indie style influence because I don't. I'm honest with you guys. You know this. I don't watch enough indie wrestling to say that something is too indie style. I don't think it would be fair for me to say that. But Angry Mark, thank you for your 10 questions. And we're moving on to Cheney815, who starts it off with, "You gotta love WrestleMania season." And I agree 100%. Not saying that Reigns versus Triple H is going to suck, but do you think Ambrose versus Triple H in a winner-take-all match would have been a better main event? It also could have been a way to honor the Ultimate Warrior for the 3rd year in a row. It's a good point. I like the idea of paying tribute to the Ultimate Warrior. Now, the problem you have with a winner-take-all match is there's one of two ways it can go. Either the Intercontinental Champion can become the world title holder, which is great, which is fantastic. it only goes one way. You have a great victory story if that person wins. If the other person wins, you have to convince me that somebody that's already the world champion cares about a secondary title. That was the problem going into Hogan versus Warrior way all those years ago. That was the problem later last year with Rollins and John Cena. I had a very hard time believing that Seth Rollins, being the world champion, cared about the United States Championship. Now, in that scenario, you have the ultimate thing of, I don't care about the U.S. title, but the U.S. title is a trophy representing the fact that I beat John Cena, who's the head, the headpiece of the company. That had a little weight behind it. But for Triple H to take the Intercontinental Championship off of Dean Ambrose just means he beats Dean Ambrose, which he spends all his time telling us all is crap. So that's a trophy of nothing, really. So you book yourself into a situation where Ambrose has to win, and when Ambrose has to win, predictability ruins the excitement of the match, does it not? I get what you're trying to do there with the title versus title, makes it more important. I get what you're trying to do there with the tribute to the Ultimate Warrior 3 years in a row. He goes into the Hall of Fame. The next year we have the Warrior Award with Conor Mahalik. Third year in a row we have a main event at WrestleMania paying tribute to the Ultimate Warrior. I understand all that, and it's all great thinking. Personally, I don't agree. And the other thing, and this is just a minor thing, titles are storytelling elements in wrestling, are they not? You want to have as many intricate stories as you possibly can at WrestleMania. So why would you tell, in a financial, in a booking, in any kind of sense, why would you tell a champion versus champion story when you can tell a champion story and down the card tell another champion story? I think it works more against the WWE than it works for them. I don't think it's the best thing they could have done. Now, all those logic and all those reasons aside, on the night, if I sat down to watch it on my TV, would I be jacked and excited for it? The answer is absolutely yes. But there's a lot of pitfalls to that idea, even though it's a good one. Regardless of Paul Bearer passing away, may he rest in peace, do you think Undertaker should have taken WrestleMania 29 off and instead had the main event be CM Punk versus The Rock versus John Cena, then have Punk beat the streak next year at WrestleMania 30 instead of Lesnar? There's a lot in there. Obviously, I would have loved to see Punk in that main event. I think it's sad that Punk was given Undertaker as a consolation prize for not being in the title picture anymore. I think The Rock and John Cena, doing the job, doing the favor for CM Punk at that WrestleMania could have set the YWC on fire, which is an expression I use a lot. Would people have been more okay with Punk beating Undertaker rather than Lesnar? That I don't know. But if you want to use The Rock and John Cena to launch CM Punk, you better have another year worth of planning with CM Punk, with him being this fucking crackerjack champion. Go into it with a story, into WrestleMania 30 with a story of CM Punk versus Undertaker, title versus streak. That could have been fantastic, absolutely. The Paul Bearer thing and the way they fed off of it and what CM Punk did with the Ashes and whatnot stirred up a lot of controversy, stirred up people's, the fans' legitimate emotions and whatever for that match, which made it great. I can't tell you which would have been better because we don't have a time machine, but I can see that booking, I personally would have had no problem with it all. Thoughts on Mr. T beating Paul Orndorff and Roddy Piper at the first WrestleMania by himself, with no help at all. Brother. Hey, the title wasn't even on the line that night anyway. Nice dig at Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan, as of that settlement with Gawker, is probably the most well-paid porn star in history, so I really can't take too many shots at him. Moving on. I may be the minority on this one, but do you consider pre-Mania matches, aka dark matches, Sunday Night Heat matches, kickoff matches, etc., to be part of WrestleMania? For the rest of the year, probably not. For the rest of the year, I wouldn't necessarily consider them part of the whatever pay-per-view. For WrestleMania, yeah, I do. Because you can't say that the kickoff is happening in front of the same 105,000 seat arena or stadium as WrestleMania does. So it's part of the show. It's part of their fan experience when they're there. And the matches on the actual thing are usually matches that we wanted to see on the show that got bumped. So when you look at it this year, they've got the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal happening on the pre-show, and Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal is being pushed as a WrestleMania tradition now, in its third year, which I have no problem with. It's great. So it's a WrestleMania tradition happening on the pre-show, so it's part of WrestleMania. It is. Dudley's versus Usos, I know I'm the minority on that one as well, but it's also happening on the pre-show, and it's one of the matches I'm looking forward to next Sunday, whether you guys want to shoot me for that or not. So even if it's just for my own purposes, yes, I consider the pre-show part of WrestleMania. Now, do I consider the hour or so worth of preamble and preview to be part of WrestleMania? Obviously not. But as soon as two people are in the ring and two commentators are telling us about it, that's part of the show. That's just my take. I won't take a strong take on it, because if somebody wanted to come along and say, no, the pay-per-view starts at 7, that match happened at 6:30, and you want to draw those kind of lines, I have no problem with that either, because I guess you're technically correct. But in my opinion, no, they're part of the show. If you had to choose between Japan and the UK to host a show in the future, where would it be? Sorry, Canada, you've already had it twice. I know, and I was there once, and we're going to get to that in a second. I don't know much about Japan. I don't. So I can't really judge Japan. UK usually have pretty insane crowds. If you could do a WrestleMania in front of the same crowd that NXT TakeOver London had, because they were pretty crazy, I think you'd have a pretty good WrestleMania. So I gotta go with the UK, only because they're the crowd that I've seen more. And to anybody that I'm offending in Japan, I'm very sorry. I haven't seen you guys. That's just the way it is. Do you think the invasion could have been stretched out to WrestleMania 18? I don't think so, only because WrestleMania 17 was the beginning of the invasion, and it popped off a lot of storylines, mostly Vince versus Shane at WrestleMania 17. By the time we got to WrestleMania 18, that WrestleMania was more about the NWO. And if we didn't have the NWO, we wouldn't have had Hulk Hogan versus The Rock, which was the main sticking point of that pay-per-view. So I think leaving that one... The invasion was shit anyway, guys, let's be real. If you had had the tippy top of the WCW roster at its prime, if you had had, you know, Booker T and Dallas Page and all that, but if you had had Goldberg and Sting and the NWO and all of them, when the invasion happened, it would have been a legit... well, it wouldn't have been a legit invasion. It was all booked by WWE. But it would have been a more impactful invasion than we got. What you wanted in the invasion was you wanted the Monday Night Wars to come to a head in the ring. And all the guys that were at the forefront of the Monday Night Wars for WCW were gone by the time WCW was bought. So I don't think it should have stretched on as long as it did with the amount that it was failing. I mean, the only WCW main event to ever take place on Monday Night Raw was Booker T versus Buff Bagwell. Let's be real on that one for a second. So, no. Speaking of WrestleMania 18, Job Team Barry, the We Know You Were There edition, which is fucking great. Intercontinental Champion RVD, European Champion DDP, or Hardcore Champion Maven. Well, Barry Maven, because fuck Maven. I guess I would team with DDP and I wouldn't have any problem jobbing to RVD, because RVD's pretty fucking badass. Will we ever see female wrestlers main event a WrestleMania? I don't care if it's a mixed tag at this point. Now, I know how the YWC goes, and I think you know how the YWC goes, and I think that might be part of why this question was asked. I have to be careful how I answer this, because as much as people like to label me as racist, which I'm not, they equally love to label me as sexist, which I'm not. But the answer is no. As much as we want to say that things are all equal and everything's easy peasy and all that sort of thing, you have one main event scene that is up here. After that, you have specialties. You have an Intercontinental division, you have a US division, you have a tag division, and you have a women's division. These are supporting divisions to that main event scene. And unless you want to see women versus men, which no, nobody's ever going to let WWE do, the answer is no. And that's not me being a dick. I wish it wasn't that way. I wish that women were in the main event scene, and I wish we had women that were in the were badass enough to be in the main event scene. I'm sorry, you may love Charlotte and Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch and Paige and the Bellas, and I loved Lita and Trish Stratus and all of them back in the day, but Dean Ambrose versus Brock Lesnar is going to sell more tickets than Sasha Banks versus Charlotte. And that's just a fact. So I will pause. I will count to 5. I will say all the hidden feminists and the feminazis in the YWC that want to throw some hate at me right now for telling you the truth, you got 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And pencils down. We're moving on. Thoughts on Jack Swagger winning the Money in the Bank at WrestleMania 26? Kind of pointless because you're supposed to put Money in the Bank on somebody that the fans want to see move up. Money in the Bank is becoming a placeholder to keep the fans happy. You take a look at somebody like a Daniel Bryan that everybody wanted to see pushed to the moon. They gave him the Money in the Bank match. At WWE kind of did it as a way of saying to the Daniel Bryan fans, hey, look. You know, don't be too mad at us. Don't shit on our show. Here's this box that says we're going to give your guy a title in a little bit. We're just not doing it right now. Fuck off and calm your jets. I don't blame them for that. But you have to have somebody with a following like Daniel Bryan for that to work. The same thing could be said for Edge. The same thing could be said for Mr. Kennedy if he had stuck around long enough. And look what it did for CM Punk. All great things. But nobody in the entire history of history has given a shit about Jack Swagger. As sad as that is, and I mean the character Jack Swagger. I have said from top to bottom the guy is well underrated in the ring. But as far as a character, I can't blame people for not giving a shit about him. That's just a fact. I would love Jack Swagger to be relevant because I do think he's great in the ring, and he brings a lot of power and a lot of technique and a lot of what's the cliche, the ring awareness, the know-how to the ring, but they've never given him a story that has made us give a shit. The whole like We the People thing with Zeb was something for a little bit, but it's really unfortunate, and yeah, it was a mistake. Despite Matt and Jeff being a great match at WrestleMania 25th anniversary, do you think it would have been a great babyface versus babyface main event if it had been Jeff's WWE title versus Matt's ECW title? It was already better than Orton versus Triple H. The ECW champion and brand, as weak as it was, would have been made to look a little bit more seriously, and I still would have had Jeff go over. Anything that puts the WWE title on Jeff Hardy, you know I'm going to be in favor of. But I don't think it would have done anything for the ECW championship because it was a fake ECW at the end of the day, let's be real. And Matt Hardy was the Jannetty of the Hardy Boys. Let's be real about that as well. So you're going to go into this thinking, oh, isn't that neat? The brothers are fighting champion versus champion. But one is significantly better and more popular than the other one, and he's got the more prestigious title. There's no way in a million years that Vince is going to let the ECW champion, even if it's fake, beat his WWE champion. That is never, ever going to happen. So it would have been a foregone conclusion, and it would have been kind of sad. And I think what you're saying there about it making people take the ECW championship and brand more seriously, I actually think it would have worked in the opposite direction, if you want me to be completely honest. Thank you for that, Cheney815. The Zohan writes me the Dead Sea Scrolls of questions. Okay. Should WWE have done CM Punk versus John Cena at WrestleMania? Before we get into any further explanation other than that, yes, WWE should have done John Cena versus CM Punk at WrestleMania at some point. Yes, they should have. If so, would there have been a title on the line? Who would have entered as champion? Who would have entered as the Royal Rumble match winner? I would have had... You got to go with Cena being the champion and Punk beating the odds to win the Royal Rumble and then beating the odds to beat the Golden Boy at WrestleMania. You have to go that way. I wouldn't have necessarily put a title on because Punk versus Cena, I've gone over this a million times. The reason Punk versus Cena worked was because Punk versus Cena was the fans versus the WWE. So even if you hated both guys, you were invested in the storyline. I don't think you necessarily would have had to have a title involved in that at all. Which WrestleMania would you have had it at, noting that one of the following matches would have never taken place? John Cena versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 23, John Cena versus Triple H versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania 24, John Cena versus The Big Show versus Edge at WrestleMania 25, John Cena versus Batista at WrestleMania 26, John Cena versus The Miz at WrestleMania 27, John Cena versus The Rock at WrestleMania 28 and 9. I honestly, I like Edge, but I would have taken him out of the Edge Big Show match because I don't think they would have pushed Edge Big Show one-on-one, so they would have found a better opponent for Edge, and you could have had Punk versus Cena. You would have had two greater events out of that show than you had. Punk versus Cena should have main evented at WrestleMania. That's just a fact. I don't care when, I don't care what year, I don't care if there's a title involved or not. That rivalry, and this is me sticking up for John Cena a little bit here, guys, if you can believe that. That rivalry should have taken place at a pay-per-view. If you hadn't have gotten The Rock involved, you could have had that match go on to WrestleMania. I'm just saying. What do you think is the least deserving of a WrestleMania main event? King Kong, who do you think? Sorry. Which of the following was least deserving of a WrestleMania main event? King Kong Bundy, Sergeant Slaughter, Sid Justice, Hulk Hogan, Lawrence Taylor, Big Show, The Miz. I gotta go with Lawrence Taylor because he's not a wrestler, or Big Show because he's the Big Show. Anybody else answering this question would have said The Miz just to be spiteful, and they can fuck themselves. Oh, yes. What do you think was the worst match segment the WWE has ever put on at a pay-per-view? The Miller Lite Catfight Girls. I know what they were trying to do, but no. The WrestleMania 25 Diva Battle Royal that ended with Santina Marella. Vince versus Donald Trump is a thing. The Bret Hart Vince McMahon thing with the whole Hart family, and that was terrible. Obviously, one of the ones you got to go with is Jerry Lawler versus Michael Cole. Michael Cole in an orange wrestling singlet is one thing that no man should ever have to see. And the way it was, they used Austin to try and make that look better, and it was still shit. Along with Jack Swagger, who we've already talked about. There's a lot of shit. There really is. Rank the following events from most to least shocking. Okay, well, most to least shocking is relative, so we'll see where this goes. Brock Lesnar ends the streak. It speaks for itself. Paul Heyman, Vince McMahon, and Eric Bischoff in the same ring at the same time. When the two other companies died, for lack of a better term, you knew that those three heads in the same ring at the same time was going to be a public thing that would happen at some point, because that meeting itself has so much history behind it. The temptation for WWE to do it is almost insurmountable. Shane buying WCW, you knew WWE was going to do something to make WCW look bad in the end, and they did. Vince had WWE, and he gave basically WCW went to Shane. Now, in storyline wise, Shane stole the WCW from Vince right from under his nose right before WrestleMania 17 in the Raw Nitro simulcast, which was horrible. I'm just putting that one out there. But in actuality, it seems like behind the scenes when they were writing this story, Vince said, I'm going to hold on to WWE. Here, you can have WCW to play with. And that's just shit. Bret Hart winning the WWE Championship in a non-televised match. That's not shocking. That's just throwing all kinds of money away. Hulk Hogan wins the championship from Yokozuna moments after he defeated Bret Hart at WrestleMania 9. A lot of people think that that's just Hogan stealing the spotlight from Bret Hart. Vince McMahon is the higher power in the corporate ministry. I hate to admit it, but guys, back in the day when they were really, really gimmicky and you had Demon Undertaker with the ministry and putting people on crosses and shit like that, I loved the ministry, and what made it 10 times worse and what made Undertaker feel even slimier was being, hand in glove with Vince McMahon. Corporate ministry was so huge and so ridiculous. It was basically the gothic NWO. I had to laugh at it, and I had to laugh at it in such a, oh my god, I can't believe they're doing that kind of way. But in its own way, it was a lot of fun, so I can't really talk shit about that. Diesel winning the WWE Championship at Madison Square Garden from Bob Backlund in 8 seconds sort of set the bar for Sheamus Daniel Bryan, didn't it? John Cena enters and wins the Royal Rumble. John Cena returns and wins something. Yeah. Shane McMahon returns to WWE in 2016 is pretty cool. Vince McMahon hiring Eric Bischoff just made me laugh. As far as genuine shock, as far as genuine what the fuck just happened, I gotta go with Lesnar beating the streak. Only because WWE was so predictable with... Not only was Undertaker's undefeated story great, but from a booking perspective, you went into WrestleMania every year thinking, okay, who's Taker gonna lose to this year? Which makes it seem predictable, but it made you... It underlined how good the booking was in the sense of they basically made Undertaker untouchable. Just to draw on the floor. You guys know that year for WrestleMania, I was down in the States visiting my good friend and former co-host Steffi Sunshine. When that happened, she left the room. I watched the main event of that pay-per-view pretty much by myself. I pity the people that had to go on. It was Daniel Bryan winning the title happened right after that, didn't it? I don't pity Daniel Bryan very much because I think that whole WrestleMania he was booked to look like Superman. But I do pity all three of those guys that had to go on after that happened, because that deflated the arena, and it probably deflated the room in the households of everybody watching WrestleMania that year. You gotta go Brock Lesnar losing the streak. Rank the following WrestleManias from worst to best: 10, 20, and 30. I gotta go with 20. I really do. Top to bottom, Big Show. No offense to the Big Show, but WrestleMania 10, I'm not going to lie to you, I'd probably have to go and watch again so that I could have some points of reference, because I don't... You guys know I'm not particularly a historian. I have my favorite WrestleManias. I liked WrestleMania 14, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 27, 18, obviously, because I was there. I'd have to go back and watch 10 again, so I can more accurately answer that, but I'm probably going to go with 20. Thoughts on the fact that not a single Divas division at WrestleMania has gone over 10 minutes? Wait until next Sunday. I'm pretty sure that the NXT Dream Triple Threat match that we're getting is going to go more than 10 minutes. Thoughts on the fact that from 2006 to 2012, Randy Orton was the only Royal Rumble winner to main event WrestleMania. Should the Royal Rumble winner always main event the show? Yes. If there is a title match, it should be the main event. And the fact that so many people that won title matches at the Royal Rumble weren't main eventing the WrestleManias was a big symptom and one of the big problems with having two titles, because you had one title begin the show and one title end the show. Typically, look at Edge versus Alberto Del Rio. Edge versus Alberto Del Rio should have been at least a semi-main event. But, you know, things are things. What is one positive quality of Roman Reigns that is constantly overlooked by the fans? I will say this, and this is where I get shot, and this is where I end up getting labeled as an apologist and whatever. Roman Reigns isn't as bad as people says he is. Now, in that, it's kind of the Bella situation for me, because I stick up for the Bellas too. No. I am not saying he's the best guy in the company. I'm not even saying that I want him to be in the main event or the title picture. All I am saying is that he is not, by any stretch of the imagination, as bad as people say. You hear people talk about Roman Reigns and you'd think they were talking about the Great Khali, or the Big Show, or Viscera, or, you know, Santino Marella. And it's just terrible. And the thing that's terrible about it is that it has very, very quickly become trendy to not like Roman Reigns. The match we're getting at WrestleMania between Triple H and Roman Reigns is one that people were clamoring for 2 years ago when the Shield fought off with Evolution. Fans, historically, will blindly hate whatever the WWE actually chooses to do. If they had decided to go with Dean Ambrose right out of the box when they split up the Shield, fans would have found a reason to shit on Ambrose. They did go with Seth Rollins being the champion, which people cheered for a little bit, then quickly started to nitpick the fuck out of. So now we're pushing Roman Reigns, and we look cool, we look anti-establishment if we don't cheer for the guy that the company decides to go with at that time. If WWE had supported Daniel Bryan all the way through, like made him a big star from day one, fans would have torn him down as opposed to built him up, because they just want to feel like they're doing something. But Roman Reigns is good. He is an entertaining person on my television. This is where I make the difference, because people say he's the next John Cena. John Cena provides very little entertainment to me once he's on my television screen. Now, is he a great guy? Is he a great charitable person? Does he do all kinds of great things for Make-A-Wish and make the company look good? All that sort of thing. Branched out, became a movie entertainer and all that sort of thing. Cool. Fine, whatever. I'd rather see him do that than be on my screen. Even that has slowly become better. I don't mind seeing Cena on my screen. He stepped down from the World Championships, and he stepped down from the main event. So he had to step down so that other people could shine, which says something about those other people, but that's another story for another day. He stepped down, he picked up a minor title. He used that minor title to make a bunch of other people look good. But John Cena, at the end of the day, as a main eventer, is not entertaining to me in the slightest. Roman Reigns, Is he the most diverse wrestler in the world? Absolutely not. Is he great on the mic? Fuck no. But I don't turn off from Roman Reigns' matches. I don't turn off from seeing what he can do in the ring. And storyline-wise, I guess, the fact that they haven't taken him out of the Shield getup and the Shield gear, they've stopped him from doing the crowd entrance, which I think in the end is going to be a good thing. I think by the time we get WrestleMania done and over with, we'll get him out of the flak jacket and the Shield gear. That'll help a little bit. There's worse things in the WWE than Roman Reigns. That's it. I don't think it's necessarily one thing that is overlooked by the fans. I think in general the fans overlook their own ability to shit on something too much is what gets overlooked in there. So anybody that the company likes, look at John Cena, look at Roman Reigns, look at who else? The Bellas are another prime example. The Bellas are not the best divas on the roster, not by a long shot. Are they, talent-wise, destroyed by most of the girls coming out of NXT? Yes, but let me tell you something for a second. Two of the next names to come out of NXT are going to be Nia Jax and Eva Marie. And if you're going to tell me that the Bellas are worse than Nia Jax and Eva Marie, I'm going to tell you to go fuck yourself. That is how that is going to go. The fans have a small point, and they make it a big one so that they can feel big. And that doesn't work. Thoughts on the Edge and Christian show that totally reeks of awesomeness? It's a sketch comedy thing. It is their shtick that they used to do in the ring translated into almost a sitcom form. I think it's great. Is it something I tune into every week? No. Is it something that I will go back to the network and watch if I need a good laugh? Yes. Again, not the greatest thing in the world, but it's a decent little thing, and they look like they're having fun doing it, so good for them. Rank these Edge matches from best to worst. Oh, fuck, I can't do that. I just can't. I'm going to say right now that I just can't. I'm going to go through this list, and which ones most contribute to Edge's early retirement. Edge and Christian versus the Hardy Boys, ladder match at No Mercy 99. Edge versus John Cena in a tables, ladders, chairs match at Unforgiven in 2006. I was there for that. I was there for that. That was in Toronto. I was there for that. That was a good fucking match. Edge versus Christian, ladder match at No Mercy 2001. Edge versus Benoit, last man standing match at Backlash 2005. Edge versus The Undertaker, Hell in the Cell match at SummerSlam. Edge versus Jeff Hardy, ladder match at Extreme Rules. Edge versus Mick Foley, hardcore match at WrestleMania 32. Edge and Christian versus the Hardys versus the Dudleys at the Triangle ladder match WrestleMania 2000. Edge and Christian versus the Hardy Boys versus the Dudley Boys at Tables, Ladders, and Chairs 1 at SummerSlam 2000. Or Edge and Christian versus the Hardys versus the Dudleys at Tables, Ladders, and Chairs 2 at WrestleMania 17. If I had to guess the two matches that most contributed to his neck injury and whatnot, I would have to say TLC 2 and the hardcore match at 22 with Mick Foley, but that would just be a guess because I'm not a doctor. Oh, and fuck yes. That's it for the Zohan. There's so many questions. I had to go back up to see the name. And yeah. Scorpion Death Drop says, hashtag YWC reality check. Do we think we can fill the 100,000 seats at WrestleMania 32 in Texas? I believe it's 105,000 seats, if I'm not mistaken. If that's wrong, please put it down in the box below. If I were to take a guess, I would say, yeah. I would hazard a guess that those 105,000 seats are already sold. I would. I haven't looked that up. I'm not on Ticketmaster. I'm not on NoDQ for the announcements of when they're sold out and whatnot. But if I were to hazard a guess, you would sell this stadium out before you even knew what was going to happen in it, just because people want to be part of that spectacle. I guarantee you, for however many people go to any given WrestleMania, there were people at Ticketmaster that got turned away. And for a 105,000 seat stadium, you have a lot more people to cram in there before you have to turn somebody away. WWE does not, it's not the Hogan era anymore. We're not buying tickets to Hogan versus Andre. You're buying tickets to WrestleMania to be part of the crowd, to be part of the spectacle. I would have enjoyed WrestleMania in Toronto at the Skydome if there was no Rock versus Hogan. Obviously, I enjoyed it more because of that. I would have enjoyed WrestleMania in Toronto if the main event had been, Miz versus Test. Because you don't go to WrestleMania. I don't care what anybody tells you. You don't go to WrestleMania for one match. You go to WrestleMania hoping you're going to get fantastic matches. Don't get me wrong. You go to WrestleMania because it's WrestleMania. And that's just the way it is. And the fact that WWE has shifted from one specific act to selling the whole spectacle is brilliant. It is. You can't have one guy that your whole company... And people will say John Cena. But John Cena's been out for a while, and look at the other people that have flourished in the time that he's been gone. If WrestleMania was Roman Reigns versus Triple H Mania, and the day before the show Roman Reigns got injured, you're fucked. But you haven't sold people a Roman Reigns ticket. You've sold them a WrestleMania ticket. And I think that change in the WWE is amazing and incredibly necessary and the only logical way to go. Especially this year when with the amount of injuries that we've seen. Oh my god. Again, that's another story for another day. Gary Monahan says, "Hey Spaz, I missed your last Q&A, but I'm back with a vengeance, LOL. Anyways, I hope you're keeping well. I am. Thank you very much. And here are my questions. What do you think about The Godfather being put into the Hall of Fame? I think it's great. I think the fact that a lot of people talk about the Hall of Fame as if only main event world champions should be in there is a farce. It's an extreme farce, because without the mid card you don't have a main event, because when your main event leaves you pick somebody from the mid card and push them up. The only thing I don't like about what the hell is his real name? I can't think of his real name right now. The only thing I don't like about The Godfather is it's just The Godfather that's going into the Hall of Fame. I wish it was The Godfather. I wish they were inducting the guy behind the character so that you could induct The Godfather, Papa Shango, and just regular plain old Kama Mustafa into the Hall of Fame, because the Papa Shango was a fun character. The Nation of Domination in its time was a really cool faction, and Papa Shango. Kama Mustafa was a really big part of that. So I wish they were inducting him under his real name so that they could induct all of his separate monikers into the Hall of Fame. Other than that, I have no problem with it at all. I think it'll be fun. I think the speech will be fun. I think it'll be great to see who they get to induct him. I think if you get somebody like a Val Venus to induct The Godfather, because when they were a tag team as Supply and Demand, that wasn't the worst thing in the world, was it? What's your take on the whole Shane O'Mac Undertaker thing? Realistically, I think I'm looking forward to it. I don't think it's going to be a 5-star classic match, but something big is going to happen there. You know it is. And with Shane McMahon returning and being in a match after being away for so long, there is the "oh my god, I can't believe this is happening" factor of it. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be good. What do you make of this whole Bray Wyatt Brock Lesnar angle being scrapped after the Wyatts eliminated Lesnar from the Rumble? Did that make it pointless now? Well, they were supposed to fight at Roadblock, which I was kind of disappointed by. But apparently Bray Wyatt's nursing some injuries and whatnot, and they had to move forward into the match with Ambrose at WrestleMania. I'm pretty damn sure that the Wyatts are going to get involved in that Ambrose-Lesnar match, and the story going out of WrestleMania is going to be Lesnar versus Wyatt. Lesnar versus Wyatt will be good. Lesnar versus Wyatt may not have been WrestleMania good. I think Ambrose-Lesnar for Mania got more people's attention. I think this one will be used... You know when they occasionally bring Lesnar in for a B pay-per-view to boost up that pay-per-view? I think that'll be the pay-per-view where Brock Lesnar and Wyatt meet for the first time. And if it goes off successfully and if the crowd loves it, I can see them carrying it out into a SummerSlam or maybe Survivor Series. But I think for WrestleMania, the safer bet for them was to go with Ambrose, and I think it's... Ambrose versus Lesnar in the ring is going to be great. Ambrose and Paul Heyman on the mic has been great already, and I think the whole idea of this one unconquerable being, and here comes Dean Ambrose, who not only wants to fight him but wants to fight him with no rules to hide behind, is fucking great. Now, if Ambrose brings all the weapons that he's been getting from all these hardcore legends, he's going to try and go at Brock Lesnar with a chainsaw. Brock Lesnar's going to block a shot with Barbie with his bare hands. He's going to do something badass like that. I think it's going to be fucking great. I think Wyatt with the Wyatt thing, you want to wait till all the Wyatts are healthy again, because it'll be Brock Lesnar taking on the force that is the Wyatt family, and you don't want to see another 4-on-1 situation at WrestleMania. We've already got a 3-on-4 situation for the tag team championships. Let that sink in for a second. I don't think you need a handicap scenario at WrestleMania, because we've already got one. Do you think the way things are going, WWE will break their live attendance record in Dallas? If 105 is a record, then I think they'll break it. I don't think there will be a seat for WrestleMania that's not sold. The worst you might see is the upper deck seats might go down in price to make sure they sell them all, but I don't think you're going to have an unsold seat in that arena. So if 105 breaks a record, then yes, I think they will break the record. What happened between James Storm and NXT, and do you think he will ever return to WWE? The answers are I don't know, and I hope so. I think if you brought them all in together, James Storm, Bobby Roode, and Eric Young could make a weird little invasion faction, but not to say TNA invading WWE, because that would be crazy. But I hope he comes back. I think the fact that he was there for 2 matches and a cup of coffee is criminal. He went back to tag team with Bobby Roode again, and now Bobby Roode is gone. So where does that leave him? I don't know. Do you think this will be the last? Do you think this will be Mark Henry, Big Show, Kane, and Taker's last years in the WWE? Big Show, no. Big Show they keep around because he's good for, filler. Mark Henry shows up every now and then. I really don't know what his deal is. Same thing with Kane. Taker shows up for WrestleMania. The sad thing is, if they keep on diminishing these guys, fighting every week to fighting every month to fighting every couple of months to fighting once a year, we get so used to them not being around that when they're actually done, it won't feel like we've lost anything, and I don't think that's fair to them, and I think it's kind of sad. But it is what it is. I don't know whether it's their last year or not. Do you think WrestleMania will ever happen outside the States and Canada? If so, where do you think it should go? I said this earlier. The reaction that I saw them get in London for TakeOver makes me think very loosely that if we're not going to do it in North America, that might be the next place they want to go. What do you think about the rumors of the brand split happening, and will it work? I don't want a brand split. I explained that up there. What do you think of AJ Styles and Jericho's partnership? And in the event that it's done by the time you get this question, why do you think they are no longer? I think it was a good, quick way. Jericho, how can I say this? There is a faction of wrestling fans that only watch WWE. And they are going to sit there and say, AJ Styles is brand new to WWE, what the fuck does he get? Or why the fuck does he get this? There's a faction of wrestling fans that will say WWE should treat Styles better. Look what he's done all over the world. He's already a legend, or whatever they want to say. So Jericho was sort of the symbol of what those people could yell at. Indie fans, indie fans are always going to say WWE treats indie fans bad. So for them to have one of their WWE guys go out there and say, you're a rookie, you're fighting in the gymnasiums, and da-da-da-da. That's the villain that they've created in their head, and Jericho plays that role. I think it's fucking great. I think it's very simple. I think, the well-established guy that second-guesses the little young guy, and I'm not saying that AJ Styles is a little young guy, but it's a very easy story to tell. And I think they're doing it quite well. And Jericho can be a dick at the drop of a hat, which is fucking great. Comes out in the middle of Roadblock and says he's ashamed to be Canadian, and gets Jack Swagger, the All-American boy, cheered in my hometown of Toronto. Let me just put that one out there. Would you be opposed to them bringing back WCW and making a show like they once? WWE's ECW was shit, and WCW, basically, they would just be renaming SmackDown, and they'd just be creating another show. And that's it. Thanks for taking the time to read my questions. Keep up the good work. Oh, and also a recommendation for you and your viewers and listeners. Check out The Joe Cronin Show, and also check out What Culture. They do great wrestling content. So, if you want something new to listen to The Joe Cronin Show. Listen to What Culture. Apparently, according to Gary Monahan, they do great shit. So I encourage you guys to take the suggestion with a grain of salt, like I did. And, if you're looking for something new to watch, there you go. I would say, if you're looking for something new to watch, check out Okay Fabe, check out the Black Cat Feline and her friends on the Wrestle Recap Show. Check out Heel Steven, General Jerry. Check out the Bear Hug It Out podcast. Lots of cool shit out there to listen to. Obviously, when you're done watching my videos, because clearly I'm the best and clearly I have an ego. Ambrosia Cat's Asylum, new to the comment section. Welcome, my dear. Says, what is your opinion on people acting like WrestleMania is going to be awesome based just on the Taker match? I don't think people are saying that WrestleMania is going to be awesome just based on the Taker match. I haven't had any conversations with people like that personally. I think Taker is such an iconic part of WrestleMania, and the fact that we're getting Hell in the Cell again is awesome, and the fact that Shane McMahon is just known for some of the weirdest, wackiest matches that we genuinely don't know what's going to happen. I think it's going to be one of the main spectacles of WrestleMania, but I don't think it's the beating heart of WrestleMania 32 by any stretch of the imagination. And myself, personally, I haven't heard anybody say that particular idea. I'm having a hard time finding anybody saying they're excited about WrestleMania at all. So that's my fight. So people saying that it's going to be exciting just because of that match isn't something I've come across just yet. To all of you out there, are you thinking that WrestleMania is going to be great just because of the Undertaker-Shane match? If so, put it down in the box below. Let me know. Do you think Shane will indeed face Taker at WrestleMania, or will they replace him last minute? Now, the rumor that I heard was that John Cena was going to surprise us by being back before he was supposed to be back, and basically represent Shane McMahon in that match, and that's how we were finally going to get the long-awaited John Cena versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania. Now we've heard he definitively will not be at WrestleMania, and apparently won't be back till June. So maybe that's not it. Maybe he wasn't originally planning to fight. I don't know. Maybe they were planning on bringing somebody else in to represent him. Maybe they're planning to have him helped out in the match. I mean, a match like this, Shane McMahon match, is never going to be a straight-up one-on-one match. It's always going to be some sort of no DQ, so whatever shenanigans happen in the match don't cause a disqualification. I've heard the rumor that Randy Orton is going to help Shane McMahon. I've heard the rumor that this match is where we're going to see the debut of the Balor Club. Now, that's an interesting one when you consider that Finn Balor has vocally stated that he wants to stay in NXT for a bit, and he is their champion. And for the record, I'm guessing that when WrestleMania comes around after TakeOver, Finn Balor will still be the NXT champion, but that's just my view. I think that debuting the Balor Club to help Shane McMahon is a really tricky way to go. Not what I would want to see personally, but it is what it is. Do you think there's a secret rule that all WWE employees must praise Cena? Well, the company thinks that they make all their money on John Cena, and the company's money goes to pay everybody's paycheck. So, is there that mentality? Yes. Have they been told to all go out there and wave the John Cena flag? Has it been that blatant? I want to hope no, but I'm not at WWE headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut, attending their meetings and reading their memos, so I honestly don't know. Have you read the latest rumors on Roman Reigns, and what are your thoughts? The rumor cites that cities that will boo Reigns, they are keeping him off TV to protect his image. So basically, it's an interesting one. I heard this a while ago too. You might think, oh, WWE's being tricky. They're trying to maneuver Roman Reigns' reaction. Well, here's what they're doing. The cities that don't want Roman Reigns aren't getting Roman Reigns. The cities that do want Roman Reigns are getting Roman Reigns. So for those of you out there that think that WWE never listens to the fans, they are not only listening to you, they're basing their programming on whether they think your city is going to like this or not. Is that not exactly the attention you want? Now, are they doing it for their own reasons? Absolutely. They're doing it to cast their star in the best light. Okay, Toronto likes Roman Reigns, so we'll send Roman Reigns out there in Toronto. He'll get cheered, they'll enjoy it, everybody wins. Chicago doesn't like Roman Reigns, so we won't put Roman Reigns out there. We'll put somebody else out there that they are going to cheer for. They go home happy, WWE goes home happy with a great reaction. Does it benefit the WWE? Yes. The fact that it benefits the WWE doesn't take anything out of your enjoyment, because they are getting their final result by listening to what you want. You might see it as a vindictive thing, or a sneaky thing, or a lie, or whatever you want to say, but literally, if they are mapping out what characters are liked in what cities and what areas, and they're programming those stars to show up in those areas, are they not, in fact, listening to the fans? Which is what everybody says that they never ever do. I don't know. People seem to think that in their heads, something that works for WWE is working against the fans. There are things that work for everybody, and WWE making sure you don't get stars you don't want, and you do get stars you do want. How does that not work in your favor? How does that hurt you? We're only going to give you the stars that you like. We're only going to give you the steak. We're not going to make you eat your vegetables. How is that bad for anybody? I don't know that it's true at all. Again, I'm not sitting in Stanford in a planning meeting, but even if it's true, take a really hard look at yourself before you complain about it, is all I will say about that. Thank you to Ambrosia Cats Asylum for those questions, and thank you to you all. And I said it at the beginning of the video, and I will continue to say it until my voice is hoarse, which is not that far away, to be honest. You guys make this series what it is. I thank you very much. You guys are the subscribers that are getting me this close to hashtag 600 by WrestleMania. You guys are all fucking fantastic. You guys are ridiculously great. Thank you for continuing to support this channel. Thank you for continuing to contribute to this series. I hope you guys are still enjoying it as much as I enjoy doing it. I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later. But for right now, I'm tagging out. Bye, guys.